Okay. So at this time, I would like to introduce a young lady that I have had the pleasure of meeting um, through the NAACP, and she's an remarkable person. And her name is Michelle Walker. She has an MBA, and she's the co-founder and executive director of Miracles Outreach Community Development, Inc. Is a nonprofit 501c3 organization established in 2001. She is also the founder of WOW Coaching, Consulting. Michelle holds a MBA from Springfield College. She is also a minister, certified life coach, victim advocate, relationship, and business consultant. At this time, I would like to introduce Michelle Walker.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Yvette, for that introduction. Truly appreciate it and just been looking forward to today. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity of having me come on today and just share a little bit. And I think for me, the part that I enjoy most is being in a community that supports women and being able to build women and just foster those relationships that's providing additional resources and a support and opportunity to encourage one another, which is what today has definitely been. So thank you to each of the speakers that's gone before me. Just a little bit, well, you gave a little bit of information about myself. And as preparing for this conference, just trying to think about the keys of success. I think that so many of us there's different opinions of what success is. And you're saying the keys of success, keys of the kingdom, and being able to just identify what those things are. I think it has been a challenge for me sometimes to really define what success looks like for me. So many times people think of success financially, monetarily, and for me, it really does not reflect that in all aspects. Sometimes, yes. So I think that's where the struggle is. And on the outside, people may see one thing. I think for myself, I'm usually looking at, did I achieve the goals that I set out to achieve and make a difference to be able to just whatever that goal was that I set out to be able to achieve, did I accomplish that goal? Did I document it the way that I wanted to? Did I financially make the resources for whatever the situation is? I think also that it kind of centers around, you have to kind of define it for your own self, what your success looks like. So often people ask me, oh, how did you come up with the name of your business for Miracles Outreach? Is that, oh, you guys are so successful. They see the outside, but don't know what the struggle is of that, what we've been through. And I look at it from the perspective of the name. For number one, let me just go back to the name. The name for our organization is Miracles Outreach Community Development Center. The name literally came from the fact that the things that God was giving me to do, I knew that it was absolutely no way possible that I could do that on my own. And the only way that it could happen, my husband and I would just joke and say, well, the only way that's going to happen is it's going to take a miracle. And we would just say it all the time. And then finally, when we tried to define the name or come up with the name, it just came down to the fact, okay, got it. It's going to be Miracles Outreach. Just understanding the whole inception of how things actually came about. So that's really where the name came from. And when I think about the keys of success, I thought of so many different things, but I think for me, the key for success has been a little bit different. I have 3 things that I identify myself as my keys to success, or for me, truthfully, the name was perfect. The keys to the kingdom. And my 3 things that I actually came up was, it was just 3 off the top, and I can explain it to you as I go. Number 1 was really being able to write the vision. The vision is number 1. Number two would be obedience and faith. So writing a vision. Only way I can explain it, Habakkuk 2:2. I can't explain it any other way, but Habakkuk 2:2 tells us to write the vision and make it plain. And at first, as I was doing these things, I realized this later, as we all do, we go through things in life that you don't realize that it's building up to what is to come in the future. I would always write down different information. And I'll just say for myself, I was a teen parent. Absolutely did not understand how in the world that definitely didn't fit into my world, in my house, into my household or my family. First one. And so for me, that was something that I just really couldn't grasp at that time. I would always write down different ideas and goals and dreams, things that I had. And although sometimes it may look like those goals and dreams are derailed, I learned over the years that delayed doesn't mean that it's being denied. So I always remind women, or just people that I'm working with in general, just because whatever it is that you're going for right now, it may not happen immediately at our time. And just because it's delayed doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. You have to keep going and keep pushing forward to those things. Being able to understand that as we write different ideas or dreams that you have, you may not understand it at that moment, but it still for me goes back to that word in Habakkuk 2:2 where it says, write the vision and make it plain, because he that reads it will run with it, and it's going to come to pass at that appointed time. I think it's important to remember that the appointed time is not even our time always. I always thought, oh, I've been that person who wants things to happen. I want it now. If I'm working towards this now, I need to see the results now or see them immediately. That's not necessarily the way it works. So it's at that appointed time. And the other part of that I've learned too, I look back at things that I had written, wow, maybe like 1996, 97, that at the time you write these things down, it may not make sense to you, but eventually it'll all come together and it'll make sense. So definitely for me, one of those keys is definitely writing things down. Writing it down for me, writing the vision, whatever that dream is, whatever it is, when you're writing, it gives you it gives you clarity. It helps bring clarity to what you're doing. It helps you to be able to create a plan, whatever that plan of action is. As women, I say as women, as people in general, but I'm going to just focus and speak on the perspective of a woman. I know that written down, when you write it down, when it's written down, it helps remove some of the distractions. It'll help us stay on track. So many days, I have so many things that you have to do on a regular basis that if I don't write it down, I forget. And it's not because it was intentional, it's just so much. At least when it's written down, you may not get them all, but when you look back, you can say, oh my goodness, I didn't do this, but that's okay. I'll start there tomorrow. It just gives us the opportunity to really just help stay on track and be able to focus on what it is that we're supposed to be doing. And one of the things I always say in coaching is really just to stay focused and don't lose sight of that vision. It might get delayed, but you keep that in front of you, write it down, look at it, read it, so that you can stay on track. The other part of that is, I would say, is a word that I have always not necessarily been a fan of, which is the word obedience. And I say I use obedience from the perspective of whatever that is that really that God has given you, or whatever your higher power is that you believe. For me, I know that when God is speaking to me and the ideas and the dreams that God gives me, sometimes it's so far-fetched that I can't even try to figure it out and try to figure out how it's going to get done. But when I'm obedient, I know that I'm in position to receive it. And I just share, from the perspective of miracles. This with miracles, before we ever opened the first house, miracles for us started from out of the back of our barbershop. And it was simply just being obedient. It was just simply trying to figure a way to help kids out in the community that was just hanging out, that were really doing nothing. And we just wanted to be able to help and make a difference in the Sulphur Springs community at that time. and bring these kids in off the street. It was about just really helping out, giving back to the community. Hey, come here, let me help you. What are you doing? Helping them with homework, giving them something to eat, just trying to give them a safe environment. We didn't have money. We didn't have anything that we felt that we had to offer other than just a safe place to really just say, come inside. You don't have to hang out in the street. And as we did these things, as God continued to deal with me as about the actual home, starting the home for girls, this was something that went on for, I would say, 4 or 5 years. I would write some stuff down, but I wasn't following it. And I say that obedience is the key, because once you can finally just say, okay, you know what, let me just go ahead and do what I'm supposed to do. It's like the floodgates open. Just being I'll say, even from the first house that we were in to open up Miracles, the residential piece, that house was not even something that we were looking for, going out to look for. Actually, my brother bought the house as an investment property for something that was completely had nothing to do with me. This was what he was looking to do. And when he called us to look at the house, the first thing when I walked in there, I don't know if you ever been in a situation and you feel like, oh my goodness, I've been here before. Like you have deja vu. And I didn't get it at the time. It was more of, I think my dad came in and said, is this the house you was telling me about? Because I had told my dad about this dream and about the house. I described the inside of the house and told him how it was a long hallway and that all the doors open up to the side. I really didn't understand exactly what it was, but as we're going through this process, then we see it, and then I realized, oh my goodness, this is the house that was in the dream that I saw. Long story short, my brother had a house, and his intent was I ended up renting this house from him, which was not ever the plan, and it kind of pushed me. I would say now I can see it as pushed me into purpose, but didn't identify. And so going back to just that obedience piece, that's that compliance. And I think the biggest issue that for me is obedience is almost like, oh, well, I have to be obedient to anybody. But when you realize who and what you're being obedient to, it'll make all the difference in the world. So I encourage us all the time to just listen to that voice inside. Be obedient. Sometimes we may not understand, and you check it out, write it down, go back, see what it is, and just continue to just be obedient to those things, write those steps down and follow them. And then the other thing I said for me that has definitely been faith, not even so often understanding what it is that I know what I want to do. It's a lot of things that I want to do, but it doesn't mean that it's what I need to do or that's going to cause me walking in purpose. And I try my best to make sure that when I am doing these things, and a lot of times is most of the times for me, I would say honestly, it's financial. What the things that God gives me to do is so outside of the realm and out of my personal reach, especially on the financial side. It's just being able to have that faith and just trust and believe and just go forth in what I'm supposed to be doing or what I'm told to do. I think that has been the biggest thing, and it has allowed me to see lives change one after the other, and being able to see and help other young ladies on a daily basis, and just helping them to understand that there's so much more to life than whatever their current circumstance is. I'll just give you a little bit of the story. In 2009, we opened our first home in 2007. But in 2009, I was contacted by the FBI, and the person who reached out to me wanted to know, what is it that you're doing? And I didn't know what it was he was referring to. He said, I have a list of 17 young ladies that are on our list for human trafficking, and your name has come up with 11 of them. And for me, I'm like, okay, never was something big, never understood human trafficking, hadn't even heard of it really until maybe earlier that year. Had no idea that that was the realm that I was actually working in, because that was nothing that we ever set out to do. It was just to give girls a home in a safe environment, be able to be that support, help them to be able to just become the best person they can possibly be. And just through this time, not understanding that all of these young ladies that we have been serving, several have been victims of trafficking. And the question that they had was, what is it that you're doing? Why is it that these kids are being successful? Or how did you get involved? I told him, I said, I don't have a rocket science answer for you. All I have is love. Love is the basis of everything that I've been taught all my life. In my household, in my family, that's all I know is love. That's all I have to give is love. So that has been the thing that has sustained us. But being able to learn and being able to just have the faith that, okay, what I'm doing is the right thing, and I'm shown daily over and over that that's what it is. Our motto is really see a need, meet the need. It's simple. Whatever that need is, if you're hungry, feed you. If you need some clothes, I'm gonna give you clothing. It just goes back to the word for me. That's that see a need, meet a need. The other question that people always say, how come you all, how are you, what is it that you do that makes you so successful? I think the number one keys for me is one for us is creating a non-judgmental environment for the young ladies to come in. It's not about what you did before you got here. It's not about what you've been through. Let's see you for who you are now. Being able to love them for who they are, having a supportive environment, encouraging environment for sure. And I think most of all, having a forgiving environment, making sure that they understand that, okay, you messed up, you made mistakes. Who cares? We've all had another chance. And I say another, meaning hundreds of chances, chance after chance after chance. So they deserve that same opportunity. And more than anything, the biggest thing for us is that they didn't ask to be there. No kids asked to go to foster care. So you really want to just be able to be able to provide that love and just teach them. The last thing for me is probably it is part of my faith, but being able to teach them in a way to be able to recognize the gifts and talents that they have that God has already given them. So oftentimes I have young ladies who work with us who want to do something, but you feel like you're not worth it. I heard you even mention about a learning disability. Those things that we have in our lives or in our background, a lot of times they will discourage us or deter us in our minds to not go forward with our dreams and our hopes. But it's so important that we just persevere and just press through. Find out, identify your gifts and talent. What are the things that you have that people always tell you, oh, you do a great job at this? Is it cooking, cleaning? Whatever that gift is, it can be speaking, it can be sewing, whatever it is, you have to really find out what your gifts and talents, those are those things that you do that come easy, that make other people look and say, oh, wow, this is great. You did a great job. Just being able to find whatever that gift is inside of you and hone it and just be able to just make a difference and how to utilize that and being able to just say, hey, this is who I am, embrace it, and just go for it and don't let nothing stop you from what it is that you want to do in life. And I just say that that's probably the biggest thing for me and has been the biggest factor for me is just being able to just keep going. It keeps me going and keeps me on the battlefield and makes me each and every day want to fight for their success and be able to fight for them to know that you deserve everything that God has for you and being able to just push them on to the next level and just know that you're capable of doing whatever it is that you want to do. I am one of those women who believes that girls rule the world. I believe that with all my heart. Girls rule the world. I feel there's nothing that we can't do. So many times I have an opportunity to say that, and I just want to remind you all that go for your dreams and don't let anything stand in your way. Thank you, Yvette, and thank you to the WILD Committee for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you all today.
Wow, that was powerful, Michelle. And yes, we do rule the world.
Yes,
and so I like that, definitely. Our next